would take to recover it, and that's not a good estimate. A couple of things I can do at this point. The first is that I can restore the database. So you can replace your traditional backup technology using Actifio. And that's part of the value proposition. We do protection, we do dev and test, we do replication. So if you've got SRDF to do replication, you no longer need SRDF to pay that tax. You no longer need to pay the tax to Symantec, for example, to buy their backup product. I can click that I want to restore the database, and this is the nuclear option, right? I'm going to blow up all the files on my production storage. I'm going to repave all the files. I'm going to lay down some new asphalt, and I'm going to recover the database. And if I select Restore with Recovery, I can grab a slider bar and pick the specific point in time to do that. How many people have experienced again, an update to an application, and then a business analyst 2 hours later looks at it and goes, how did the data get messed up in these 3 tables, right? Well, I can now give the end user an interface to go and do this, to stand up a point-in-time copy of the database so they can begin to do their work to adjudicate whatever went wrong.
So if you kept that live for that new data, that test database out there for 6-7 months, how big would that get?
It would get as big as the amount of insert updates and deletes that you had done. And my experience as a DBA tells me that 95% of the database doesn't change, right? People are changing the shapes of existing tables, they're adding new tables, you're loading new stored procedure code in the database. With one exception, if you're going to do a big batch upload, which will change a lot of blocks, I'm not really hitting a lot of changes. But to answer your question, as long as you have that database in scope, we'll maintain the blocks.
I'm just wondering about the size, how, like after 6 months of a lot of inserts and that kind of stuff, I'm just wondering how
you're going to pay. You're going to have enough storage.
Well, I have that same problem of having the same size database again. Am I losing the advantage of the disk storage?
If you change 100% of the storage,
yeah,
then I would suggest you do a clone.
Yeah.
And drive an independent clone, which we also support. So, but it depends. And if, dropping an index and rebuilding a big index, right? I'm reorganizing the data, reswizzling
You know a little bit about that, right? Yeah. You just had to do it today, so I.
Oh, is that right? Yeah. Well, okay.
That's why he's just sitting there. His mind is still fried from it, so.
So that's the restore, and I'm not going to blow away the demo database right now, right? That 95%.
Do you want me to?
What's that?
Do you want me to? I'm good at it.
Done
it for a long time.
Yeah, that's right. Show me a person who doesn't make mistakes, and I'll show you somebody who doesn't do anything. If I take a look at mount, which is a lot more exciting, right? Because now what I want to do is I want to take a point-in-time independent copy of the database, and I know what I'm doing. I'm going to pick VQ Aura Linux B as the host that I'm going to submit that to, and I'm going to hit the mount button. If I take a look at, where am I?
Do you need any hypervisors or anything?
No.
Or is this all at the storage level?
This is all at the storage level. Very first thing I said, the key part of this is we capture at the block level.
Right.
It's at the application native format. I don't have to transform it. I don't have to do anything with it.
So if we spawned off 10 databases on one machine, they were all anywhere from 6 to 10 or 6 to 20 SGA size. Remember, MB, GB, and memory size. You're going to tax that system.
Yes, and in the new functionality we have with the AppAware mount, you can specify the target size of the SGA, so you can dial that down, right? So if I'm running 40 gigs of memory in full boat, for a production server, but I'm only going to boot an SGA of 2 gig for the developers, I can scale down the size of the SGA.
So you are going to be limited to the size of your machine as a number based on how big you want your SGA and how big you want.
Yes, yes. I'm virtualizing the storage, right? The Oracle application that's running, right? The database code that's running on the host is subject to all of the same restrictions that you would expect for good performance out of your Oracle database, right? So I did a mount command. You can see here that I'm on VQ Aura Linux B. I have another window right here. And you guys said you wanted a technical presentation. This is on VQ Oracle. So this was the source database that I started with. And you can see, if I got to the right point, I was tailing it, so here we go, right here. You can see the incremental merge operation take place in the alert log. Oops, I'm sorry. It's really hard because I can't see my screen. And I'm looking at the big screen. You can see the incremental restore complete of data files, right? This is what I was talking about earlier. When I provide the snapshot of the level 0, I do an incremental backup, and then I apply the backup to the Actifio storage, and then I get out. If I go take a look at the database, oh, I lost my, no, I lost the right failed and broken pipe. Everybody wants to be rude.
If we do any type of development, that's what we need. Go and do insert on that one table. Then it needs, it's just DBA, there's no other way.
Who does it?
Who doesn't?
This is a simple script that I have that will reveal, and again, this is the source database, right? So this isn't a terribly large database, but you can see the table spaces and the file locations for the primary storage of the database files. You can also see, as I scroll down, I've got the SID of the database is DemoDB, and this is a whopping 25 gigs, but this could also be 25 terabytes. And I could be doing this in roughly the same amount of time. If I take a look at the mount, oh, I lost that set. Did I lose that? No, I'm still on that machine. I type, there we go. Now you can see I've got two
Shift plus.
What's that?
Make that larger, Shift plus or Command plus or whatever. Command, yeah. There you go.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
You can see now the two mount points that I spoke about earlier. One being the incrementally merged image backup, right? Copying all the 0 blocks, because guess what? That's what Oracle expects to find there when I go to open or I attempt to do media recovery against that database. And what I'm going to do in this particular case is I've got another window open here. What is going on? This is not real happy here. Why is it not copying this? Why is it not pasting it into that window? All right. I can't even type it. Is it even responding? It's dead. Hang on a second, guys. Let me get it back over here. Let me get a new shell window.
It's the traffic on 495 in Waltham. That's why it's.
Yeah. Okay, so
Plus, you call them Massachusetts, and anyone from Massachusetts would always say Mass, by the way.
I've got a window open here at the right spot. Let me see if my paste now works. Oh yeah, okay. So there's the customer clone script, and we can actually take that take a look at how that runs. And the last argument it needs is it's so hard to drive this looking at the screen. The last argument it needs is the mount point where it's going to find the incrementally merged image. So if I pop that in here. I'm now going and recovering that database, right, at that point in time. And I didn't run any of the data. At the end of this, I'm going to run that same script in the background. And you'll see the files have been repositioned to come off the Actifio appliance, right? I've just beamed the database. I just teleported it. And to your point earlier, I didn't copy any blocks to get it over there. I'm doing this with a 25 gig database. And there we go.
So are those blocks compressed at all? Or are they?
No, these are out of the snapshot pool.
But when you create these differential blocks, is there any compression at all?
Not in the snapshot pool, because what I did, right, is I mounted something up to a different Oracle host running the same version numbers, right? Indian gets to be an issue, we can talk about that, but
yeah.
I simply mounted that up, and Oracle is going to open that database up and apply media recovery to it. It expects to see the road paved exactly the way that database was laid down. And you can see here, these are the same table space names, and they're now coming off the Actifio appliance and the mount them. Right? Fraction of the cost of the storage, a fraction of the time to do it, an independent read-write copy of the database is made available. Questions?
I think that's.
Go ahead, please.
Beat the horse here, but you've got your gold copy. That's your goal.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's on this whatever physical disk goes.
Yes.
Right. And then you're going to present that as a separate mount point out to a database on a different server.
That's correct.
And is that not writable now to that Oracle instance?
Fully read-write. As a matter of fact, I just recovered it.
Aren't you?
It's copy on write.
Pardon?
It's copy on write. So when you do a write, it'll take your block and create a brand new block just for your instance.
Okay.
So if you have two databases and they're writing to the same block, it's for database A, which is database B, you use a copy of A.
Okay.
A writes a block, it'll go off to its own, it'll read its own, only for A. The B instance won't see it, and if B should create its own block, it will create all.
So I have two inode lists.
Right.
Okay.
I have two inode lists that just happen to point to a shared set of blocks that are common to both databases. If I update block 10 from machine A, then the inode list is adjusted to point to the new block 10, but blocks 1 through 9 and 11 to 100 are common to both instances at that point, and that's where that's where I virtualize the storage, and that's where you see the capital savings.
Yeah, I'd like to ask about a use case. Let's say I'm a DBA, I'm in a company and it's got 20 developers. The company wants a separate development environment for each developer, including a separate copy of the database. So can I do this with this virtualized data solution?
Yeah. Thank you for that. Yes, yes, you can, right?
And developers can do whatever they want with their copy of the database.
That's correct. That's correct. And not only that, but I can capture file systems. So if you have an application that's written to access 2 Oracle database, 6 SQL Server database, and you run through code in 5 web app servers, I can cut and paste that entire environment at nearly the same point in time. and provide that to someone working a trouble ticket or someone looking to do development against it.
So are you talking about putting the production copy of the database in this virtual data solution, and then virtualizing that to like
Yes.
all the 20 developers?
Yes. And
Okay.
further, if you take a look at the Sony hack, the Sony hack was not against production data, it was against the backups,
Yeah.
right? So you want to reduce your surface area of attack, right? And we can help you do that. You also want to put up masked data, right? I don't want PHI data, I don't want anything there. So one of the other use cases is I take a copy of production. We work with a partner in Toronto, Camouflage, but you could work with IBM Optum. You then scribble the data, you obfuscate the columns that you want, credit card numbers, addresses, whatever, and then I start snapping off virtual copies.
Okay, so on day one, each developer gets a copy of the production database, virtual copy, and they start making changes to it.
Now, how big would
So-
those, before you go any further, how big would each one of those copies be?
Initially?
Yeah.
Megabytes.
Okay.
Because it's just the pointers.
Right, right.
It's just the pointers to
I
the
just
block.
wanted to make that
Right,
point.
so,
Thank you.
so 1 week later, what the developers are looking at is a copy of production a week ago, plus their changes, but not any of the changes made to production.
That's correct. It's an
During those 7 days.
independent. I know I say this. I've got it boiled down to an independent read-write copy of the database, fraction of the cost of storage, fraction of the time to spin it out, right?
Well,
But they all.
changes are independent, or
Or is
data
it
is
same?
still shared.
Yes.
But all the changes are independent to that database.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so
Only that
that
database can see that.
Yes.
one month later, the company has a 21st developer. So he gets a virtual copy of the production database, but it's as of his date of hire.
Yes. Well, whenever. So when I said I have 2 weeks in this SLA, this stream in the golden copy, I can pick any point in that 2-week time period and punch you up a point-in-time copy. And as far as you're concerned, it's fully fleshed.
So we can still give them a virtual copy of the database as of the same point in time that the rest of the developers.
If you want
If you
to
wanted
pay
that.
for it.
Yeah. Okay. Now, a lot of development work, particularly report development, requires recent production data.
Hang on, guys. One meeting. One meeting, please. Thank you.
Yeah, a lot of reports run on yesterday's data, last week's data. The people, the developers who develop reports, they want recent production data. So how long does it take to create a new virtualized copy of the data? Can this be done every single day?
Yeah, and going through these same steps. And as a matter of fact, we also have a command line interface. Hang on, I have to find my pointer. We also have a command line interface that we got some guys back in Waltham to write an HTML interface on top of. This is a self-service, so anything I can do with the GUI, I can do with the CLI. So it's command line, and we also wrap a RESTful API around it as well, right? So in this particular case, and I'm working on development boxes, so it's not the demo boxes, so the names are going to be slightly different associated here. But I can come and I can say, I want to pick DemoDB. I don't have any images here, which is really bad. We've had some issues with this system. Let me see if I can refresh it. It'll come back. I was working with Anthony Gola, the guy that supports this for us. And yeah, we have an active image that's been mounted here, but let's see if it's going to be a little bit. Oh, there we go. These are the point-in-time copies that I have available for a developer to mount. They can pick any one of these point in time to choose to mount to another host.
Okay, one more question. Taking it
Go
one
right
step
ahead.
further. Let's say the company is paranoid about their production data, and they don't want to fool around something new with their production data. So can I create a data guard copy of the database, standby database, which is kept up to date every day?
I understand data guard, yeah.
And stick that in your virtual data.
Yes, so in other words, you can point us at the data guard physical standby instance, and we do all of the same capability off the physical standby as here, right? Because I can back up the standby, and use that to recover production, right? And we will capture data off the physical standby.
And because this is the block level, this is the OS block level.
Block level of storage.
OS
So it'll work with OpenEdge or any other database system too, I would imagine.
With one caveat. So DB2, we don't work with DB2 out of band like this,
Okay.
because DB2 does not provide me the capability to do a physical bit-for-bit, block-for-block copy of the database. So what happens is that we will then go in band as another technique, so that the Oracle database will provision, or in this case, DB2 database will be provisioned here, and then we do a 60 nanosecond hop to the physical storage for DB2. And because I'm controlling all the reads and writes, I can then provide the same capability for an application that doesn't allow me to do an image backup.
It really is smoke and mirrors. I mean, good job.
How many copies can I put you down for?
Now,
But I asked that after we sign on the way
I was
out.
going to say, I know we were talking about using the standby databases or the data vault, but in some cases we've had where the client doesn't want us to move specific, schemas, specific tables over, so we'll do like an export of data to migrate over another box. Can I specify specific schemas or tables I do not want to be?
No. No. But what I can do for you, though, is if you want to do that, I can mount up a space-efficient copy of that, and you can go in and grab those table spaces. You can do SQL loader. You can unloader our data pump. Right, I'm showing my age. And you can pull out the objects that you want. I can do create table as select over a database link, right? I mean, I have all of those options.
It's readily available. So.
How about masking data, since you are copying production over to dev, obviously with FTI and SOX, there's going to be some data we don't want our developers to see, i.e. Social Security
Great
numbers.
question. Great
Do
question.
you mask?
So we also we can plug into your LDAP, right? So we pick up all your user accounts, we pick up all your roles, and we can mark data as protected or sensitive. And if you're not allowed or authorized to look at the real data, you can't see it. You can only look at masked copies of the data that we keep track
Is
of.
that file by file?
It's database by database, file system by file system, but in this particular case, I'm masking rows, tables, columns inside Oracle, and I'm providing to developers the ability to only see masked
Where
data.
is that specified at? The table level, the schema level?
It's specified in the domain manager that we have defined here, where we define hosts, where we push our software from, where we configure the LDAP stuff and the roles. So when I come in this particular case, this demo is wide open to me. This click right here will actually show you the code that's behind it, the JavaScript. And I had to authenticate myself as Mark Riley. In this case, I'm essentially root.
Yeah.
So this gives me access to everything that I
Well,
can see.
I mean, I can always associate your account from an LDAP level to say, here's my guy has this access. My point being, like, if you're saying that I can say this guy is in a dev instance and I can flag data as being masked data, where's that being flagged at? That data being flagged as the individual instance?
At the database level, yes, at the individual instance level.
So it's not that, and I just thanks for clarifying. So my question was very similar to his. You can do the flagging at the database copy level,
Yes.
or the snapshot level, but not internal to what the database is. You can't say, this is an FTI person. You can't.
I can't. I'm not cracking open the database and looking at it. And this particular vintage of software doesn't have that. The new vintage of bits has the masking capability, and I can indicate that this is a masked copy, or this is the full boat, the original boat, and it's sensitive, and only certain people can mount them. I can also control, in this particular case, right, what target machines that I can mount the database to. So coming back to your point earlier, right, I've got to punch up all these SGAs. and I don't want everybody pointing to one machine, and people are paying for different physical assets, right? So I can control what machines I can actually provide the mount points to. Works the same way for SQL Server. I know this is the Oracle Users Group meeting. A little bit slightly differently. We quiesce the database. We take a VSS snapshot. We release the lock on the database. We mount up a drive, Z, X, whatever you choose. The first time I'm going to copy the entire contents of the VSS snapshot in. 24 hours later, I'm going to go through, I'm going to quiesce, I'm going to snap again. We have blockchain tracking technology that we've added to our connector. And again, if I have a 100 gig database and 10% of the blocks change, I'm going to merge the 10 gigabytes onto the copy, the snapshot, and then I'm going to go away. And I can just as easily mount into SQL Studio, the database, rename it, drive it, and do exactly the same functionality.
Question about undo and temp. As you know, those are very highly utilized. There's high change rate. How does that change rate? Because I know with a competitor's product, we have to count for that change rate through snap reserve and potentially blow up a lot of our reserve disk because it's trying to keep those changes because it's all on the same disk. How does Activio track or handle?
Undo and temp are recreated, right? Because undo. Yes. Yeah. So I'm, in fact, when I ran this script, not in this guy right here. When I ran this script, I actually created some local storage, right? I recreate the control file, right? I have to recreate the control file because I'm pointing. Yeah, because I'm renaming it and I'm pointing to new storage, right, for the files. I've moved it out. And the temp and undo table spaces get created locally on that machine because undo only has the scope of a running database, right?
So when it comes to the temp and undo, it's not just going to be megabytes that will be copied over. If temp and undo are together 50 gigs, I'm actually going to get a brand new 50 gigs for temp and undo here. So every time I do a clone, I have to count for.
Yes.
So my temp and undo is I'm going to get a brand new, nothing shared.
Yeah, because that's
nothing shared.
Because those are in scope for the running database, but I don't incur the high change rates that Delphix does.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of Oracle-centric functionality available with this.
Well, this was an Oracle Users Group, yes, but I can do the same thing with VMs, right? I can capture. We go in against the VADP, the snapshot and change block tracking technology in ESX. We also work with Hyper-V, and I could just as easily take a VM at a particular point in time and make it available on another ESX host. We stop short of wiring it on the network because you don't want two VMs to show up with the same network address, and you get an opportunity to rename it and then bring it back up, crack it open, pull some files out, and throw it away.
Okay, so the base functionality works on the operating system block level, but you have tailored solutions for Oracle and other
Oracle, SQL, SharePoint, Exchange, file systems, VMs as well. And I'm sure these guys would be happy to come back and talk to you individually and do more of the functionality beyond the Oracle stuff, which I've been tasked with today.
Well, real quick, and I asked Todd Nelson at Federal Mobile yesterday if we were allowed to talk about it, because they're a customer of mine. And they're leveraging this for SAP and Oracle primarily. Most of it's on VMware. But they actually signed on so early that a lot of the dev test capabilities weren't as advanced as they are now, and they've just kind of progressed over the last few years in terms of implementing this more. And one of their DBAs was not a big RMAN fan, which, as you saw earlier, we leveraged that. And so, we're getting them trained out and like, hey, this is the way that you guys should be using it. And I remember they used to be right next door to you guys. Now they're a mile down the road. But they've been leveraging for their SAP and Oracle environments.
Although this is a storage solution, there is hardware involved with this. You guys provide hardware, am I correct?
So it's going to be, go ahead.
Yeah, so we deploy in two different methodologies, right? We're a software company. We run our software inside a hardware appliance that we OEM from IBM. We also deploy exactly the same functionality on an ESX host. So I've got an OVA file for you non-ESX VM guys. It's an install, and the application comes up as a VM inside of an ESX host, and the same capability exists that way. If you go, okay, so one of the other ways in which we differentiate ourselves is that if I'm moving and mounting databases over NFS, right, I'm going over IP. Gigabit Ethernet, 10 gigabit, right? If I got to move a terabyte, it's going to take me 4 to 5 hours on a gigabit Ethernet network. If I have to move that on that same terabyte on a 10 gig network, I'm going to move it in an hour. If I've got a 4 gig HBA, I'm moving 4 to 5 terabytes an hour. That's assuming the arrays or the disks are capable of sourcing and syncing. The HBA is capable of that. If it's an 8 gig HBA, I'm moving 11 terabytes an hour, right? So speed matters, right? And the horsepower matters, especially when you're dealing with larger databases, right?
So if you're going to run a database on DNFS, direct NFS,
yep.
Does that support that software?
Right now, we only serve up databases in 2 protocols, Fiber Channel and iSCSI. NFS is on the roadmap,
yeah.
And if it was something you guys were really interested in, and you were going to write him a big check, you could
sure,
probably...
You can whatever I got. You can have whatever.
Just keep buying me cottage and pizza.
Okay.
You know, my father told me never take a small bribe.
Actually, I got $1 million for you right here, so.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Well, anyway, NFS
Your
is...
24th printing money.
Oh,
There you go. I got $1 million for you.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
that and
You only got change? I'm looking for change.
yeah, that and $4 will get you a copy at Starbucks, right? Yeah. it's not Starbucks. It's $4. But anyway, any questions? You guys get what's going on, and what I'm going to do right now is
I'll be honest with you. It sounds very, very, very similar with a few changes to ZFS cloning and ZFS snapshots.
Yes.
Because I did that 5 years ago, and we did exactly the same thing. I'd create zones off of a clone, and I was able to redo that within 10 seconds.
That has the copy on write technology, but I'm also leveraging the primary array that I'm running my database.
Exactly. That's the one thing missing.
Right. I'm cutting off a completely separate infrastructure here. It's completely independent from any of the production resources, and I don't care where you mount it. Right. I just ran a script to run down the database to gracefully clean it up, so the next person who comes in here is not going to go, who was that a-hole that didn't clean up properly? And once I've got the database shut down, anybody see my pointer? I can go back to the application manager, and I can select, and you can do it. You see here that I have one active image, which was mounted on VQ or a Linux B. And once I have that highlighted, I then come here, hit unmount and delete, and I release all the resources associated with the storage of that database. Yes, sir.
What level of command line interface do we have with the application? I see a lot of GUI.
Yeah.
How much command line interface do we have with this application?
Everything you see that I did here, everything that's available in the GUI is available through the CLI. And if I can find my mouse again, I can go to Finder.
Is it identical functionality between the CLI and the GUI?
Yes, yes, it's exactly the same. So if I get here,
The first thing that the IT guy asks, can I get it without a GUI? It's slowing me down. I hate this type.
well, my machine is not happy. I can't select.
And
the GUI.
they want to run scripts.
Oh.
I want to script this thing. I don't want to interface with this GUI at all.
Oh, that's what happened. I fat fingered something over here.
So it has to go out to the
Yes.
Present represented within systems.
What do you expect?
Now that connector that you got attached to Oracle there, is that going to be some type of plugin you got to install?
Yes.
Hardware, right?
No, it's software.
Software.
So it allows us to log in and crank the RMAN backups and do the incremental merges. Here's the CLI reference manual, and you can take a look at the overview, accessing the appliances, and you can see user management, host and appliance management, license management, right? Connector support, protection. Yeah, I can define service level agreements. I've got the entire set of functionality available to me with the CLI, and there's a RESTful wrapper around it.
Sweet. Save your time.
He wants to buy one.
Save me time is what we like.
Well, he just got a request today to create 4 or 5 different developer databases.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You need activity.
I saw the request, and he's going, "You need all 5?" And they
Like, oh, we're gonna go do this. Are you going to do it, or do you need me to do it? Like, there's a big difference there. Oh yes.
I mean, to me, I consider cloning databases to be a blue-collar activity as part of a DBA. There's nothing exciting. I'm not looking at optimizing SQL statements. I'm not, looking at the cache hit ratio. I'm not doing anything.
The one thing that gets me is where I have to get the pliers and start pulling teeth to get requirements. That's usually the thing. It's like, I just need to know what you want. Like, a thing. Okay, well, that's nice. Now that we've clearly defined nothing, let's move forward.
Yeah, deliver that right away. I'm great at delivering nothing. Sales success.
And my current company has got about 6 or 7 copies of each production database.
Yeah.
QA, test, dev, app test,
Training,
convert, and training. Yeah, I don't know what.
user acceptance testing, right? Performance, right? And this would essentially, go back to the example, right? I said 7 to 10 copies off production. I've got another 5 copies for backup, so I've got 15 copies of a 2 terabyte database for a total of 30 terabytes of storage. What if I could give you that in about 4 or 5 terabytes? I just gave you a vacation from buying storage. Right? I'm giving you back resources that you have available to you on the floor.
now in you guys' experience in the real world, people using this, when we had ZFS clones, the one thing that happened, everybody wanted a clone. Everybody wanted a zone.
You don't talk.
Well, yeah, and all of a sudden we had over 200. It was like, it grew like, are you guys seeing that in your actual customers?
I haven't seen so much of that, but it is seductive. I
Yeah.
will tell you that all of a sudden I can start to do that. And this guy right here will make sure that you have enough license capacity to satisfy all of those.
Well, so
requests.
what it is, and I guess I wanted to make it as non-Actifio centric as we can when we're talking about Actifio, right? But you pay for it with Actifio, you pay for a managed data license, and that basically, if you remember that first slide where it showed you the use, you basically pay for front-end source data that you're managing, and you can do whatever you want with that, right? So, we worked with a company, another large company out of Cincinnati, not General Motors, but the other one, the other general company, and they had a 60 terabyte Oracle database, a huge database, and they were creating 10 copies of it. So they had literally 600 terabytes of storage, that they were basically just had all this they're just doing Oracle dev test. And so we found, like he said, we added on licensing, so we said here, 100 terabytes managed data license, and they were able to free up roughly 500 terabytes of just that storage that he was just talking about, give it back to the business. And so, you say you pay $2,000 a terabyte for storage, that's, roughly $1 million in savings, between $1 and $2 million, and that's that business case. For your answer, I'd fall to, Joe and Mark.
I mean, the one thing, it's a good and bad thing.
Yeah.
The good thing is to save the storage, but the bad thing is we charge database on storage. So.
Now that you guys are partnered with Pure, too, you can charge
Yeah,
them.
so.
Well, you can charge them for storage and be using a tenth of it in the background, right? So I mean, there's a value prop to be made there.
Virtual store. You sell them the virtual
Yeah.
store.
So,
No.
As far as you know, you log into that database, you count the block. I mean, how often do you do disaster recovery tests? I can take up and mount up a copy of this once a week and attempt to recover it. And I know that my backup recipe is still good. I have a workflow process that I just brought up, and I've got pre and post scripts that I can specify. So part of that could be the hook into the data masking software.
Yeah, that's what you asked.
Right, and I can specify that, and those scripts live on those boxes. So after I stand the database up, I could go in, I could drop things, I could mask things, I could fold, spindle, mutilate, julienne, and fry. Right, that's to my heart's content with the workflow capability. I had about an hour and a half worth of material, and we're right about there. Any other questions? Was this good? Was this useful?
Yeah, just about everything I look for. I worked for a month now.
There you go. I started off and I talked about, why were people, virtualizing compute resources? Because I got better utilization out of the hardware. Like if I had 100 boxes, I could take you down to 25. I'm using less power, I've got less people, right? I'm getting better utilization out of the resources. This is storage virtualization.
Yeah, it's not just a question of getting more efficient use out of the resources. It gives them the opportunity to do something new. You need to create or provision a lot more copies of the data, like Mike said.
A lot faster. Yeah,
and faster, like every single day, so that the developers are working with up-to-date copies of the data.
That's correct.
And people who don't understand licensing can just keep on saying, I want more! I want more! No!
You know, this doesn't quite at the database level. Do you have an opportunity or is it on the roadmap to do like illustrative recovery with this data file?
Well, yes, but what I can do is I can just mount up the database to you, which will get the database and you can throw it away. We haven't gone. We are working with 12C with pluggable databases, right? So we're able to handle that in 12C. But I guess our customers, all of the use cases I've described to you are based on my experience as a DBA working on a bunch of different jobs, right? But our customers, when they use this technology, have not found the most valuable use case until they bring it in and they drive it. Because, if you take a look at the example I provided with ASM, so if the database is provisioned on ASM, I mount an ASM disk group, I drive the RMAN image level backup into it. If I lose this primary storage, I mount the ASM disk group to you. And if I paid attention to the quality of disk storage behind here, I'm giving you the same I/O read-write rates out of your primary storage, and that database is back and it's up and running. You repair the issues here, you add these LUNs into the ASM disk group, and then you execute the ASM rebalance operation. So while the database, so all insert updates and deletes go to the new storage or the repaired storage array, and in Oracle's copious amounts of its spare time, it's moving blocks from Actifio, right? And you can govern that, right? You can establish a power as to how much resource you want to burn on that. And depending upon the size of the database, how fast the machine is, 2 hours, 2 days, 2 weeks, all of a sudden ASM comes back and says, guess what? All of your primary disk blocks are now back on the repaired storage array. Disappear Actifio.
Yeah, it sounds really cool. That's a lot of great features. Something really handy. People should use it for that.
And then it's
Well, Ash met with Mike Jennings, our CEO met with Mike Jennings about maybe 18 months ago, and then we were working with, and I shouldn't say all of them, but we were working with Scott McIsaac on term. But I think you guys have been growing so fast that I think new projects kept coming up over and over again. And, that's why we love talking to these Oracle teams, because we know, the struggles that's who this company was built and focused on, is the applications and the application owners. And I forget the extent of Ash and Mike's conversation, but our company, it's over $1 billion valuation, are growing fast, tons of users, and Ash founded AppIQ, which became Storage Essentials at HP. President co-founded XIV, which is the tier 1. So we got industry experts, and in Waltham, Mass, is where all of our engineering takes. We have great engineering team. So yeah, we always wanted to make it's application-centric, infrastructure agnostic is the dumbed down sales guy version of what it is. So it's
Is it a publicly traded company?
No,
no,
privately
soon to
held
be.
right now.
That's the goal. Those are decisions for people above my head.
How many companies are you in right now?
I'd say we're in. Actually, the other day we have about 1,500 users. I'd say we're in about 1,000 companies, half of which, or probably a little less than half of which, are cloud service providers. So they kind of give an extension to. We're in the big ones like IBM, BCRS, Verizon, SunGard, and then a lot of more boutique cloud service providers. That's been, in terms of the volume of dollars, actually cloud service providers can spend more because they can, you talk about the different use cases. Cloud service providers can then increase margins by convincing, using one product. You can use backup as a service, dev test as a service, DR as a service, all with, one technology, as well as cutting back storage. So it varies. And then in the enterprise, in the Midwest specifically, we've had a lot of success with big enterprise. And the rest of the U.S. and the world, it varies. That Sky, it's called Sky, is our virtual appliance. That we started out focusing with just the hardware appliance, the gateway appliance, and that was for large companies only. We started out kind of different than most companies that try it out on smaller, easier to manage. We went right after the big guys. Like I signed on Cardinal Health. It's a Fortune 30 company in Columbus, Ohio, and we have Federal Mogul, and working with like Owens Corning and Toledo, which, as you see there, it's 3 kind of different different companies in general, but they all have the same problem, and it's the copy data problem, which is what the company was originally founded on. So
Have you guys been evaluated by Forrester or Gartner?
Gartner's all over it. Forrester too, but Gartner, we're visionary on the Magic Quadrant. We have been for a while. What we're expecting and what Gartner's promised us is that they're going to create a copy data management Magic Quadrant. Because right now we're in the backup and DR.
No. They finally created a separate one, and there are 2 companies, us and Delphix, in that space. So it's copy data virtualization is the buzzword. Right?
But yeah, Gartner and Forrester both. More Gartner. Forrester, I think, is actually in Massachusetts, so they've been involved in this too.
Well, if I'm going to take this to my VPs, and you've got my interest, I just want to make sure that you guys are firmly established.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
It sounds like they are.
Well, again, I'd encourage you guys to talk to Federal Mogul is one of our best customers at the company. And they're right down the road. So, do you work for Secure 24? Are you a separate company? Do you work for a different company? Or?
Oh, I work for a different company.
Okay.
I thought you worked for Babies R Us.
Well, actually, but Synchron is.
Okay.
Well, it's like 14,000 employees, depending on what day it is.
I want to leave you with one thought, right? This is a simple HTML page that was crafted on top of the CLI. A lobotomized monkey on a bad batch of meth could come up to this interface and plug it in and pop himself a database, and then those 5 copies that somebody was grinding on you for today would be taken care of with a self-service interface like this. What's that? A lobotomized meth monkey on a bad batch of meth. Right, get it right here, yeah. But this becomes self-service, and I can also do file systems. So I could take, like, if I had, a chimney pansy. If I had an Apple Top, an e-business suite implementation, right, I could also provide a shared, a virtual copy of the Apple Top and the common top, right, so that now I have the vintage of code that is accessing the vintage of database, and I'm cloning the entire environment. I'm virtualizing the storage and making, and so what would I do in the workflow post-scripting? I would run the rapid clone process, right, to rename that, because I don't want two systems showing up as, you know, my ERP system of record or my customer relationship management system of record, right?
Okay, you make it sound real simple, but you got 400 paid manuals. So I'm wondering about the service side of this. I mean, you can sell this package to a company, but if no one knows how to use it there, it can just sit around. So how much a learning curve is there in setting this up, getting the Oracle databases on it, and setting up the virtual copies and getting the applications to connect to them?
Well, you saw me take a point in time in the golden image stream that I had, and you saw the effort that I did to stand it up.
Once everything is set up, yeah.
Right. So I mean, a couple of things. One is that the appliance will call home and say, hey, I'm beginning to run out of a resource, and one of these guys is going to give you a call. Somebody in our support organization is going to come and talk to you. We have professional services that would come in and help you set it up and take you through it, right? Teach you how to fish. We've got resources on the web as well, right? The documentation that are necessary. So
our support program is called customer success. So once you become an activity of a customer, you get a customer success team. It is support, but it's supposed to be proactive customer success. A lot of companies are kind of calling it that now, and at no cost to you guys. It's not like it's somebody. We have the traditional, bring a guy on site for 6 months if you want. For a cloud provider, we have literally a cloud team that would work with you to monetize whatever you were buying. But it's all custom. It's all, like you said, it'll call home. We get the alerts right away.
So you provide the bottom-line one?
Yeah, exactly. We have a bunch of them. Yeah.
On a bad batch of crack.
Yeah.
Or meth.
You got a weird. You got that right on. Yeah.
Too many episodes of Breaking Bad.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yes. Guilty is charged, and they say recognition is the first step.
He's from Atlanta, man. They're weird down there.
Oh. Actually, born and raised in Rhode Island, so damn Yankee, proud of it. And please move on. Was this good?
Yes. Thank you.
Generated a lot of questions. These guys are always quiet, so.
Really?
That's a good sign.
Plus, it got hot. Once they cut off the AC in there, I noticed that everybody started getting a little more, I don't believe it. It's great because I'm burning off the pizza that
I was just thinking about that. Is it just me? Did my metabolism just kick up?
We learned a couple things here tonight. Number one, looks really great. The product looks really great. Number two, Google Hangouts is not going to work. So I got Google Hangouts here, but it's just, I think, Brian, if you're on the call, I have to talk to you about getting a webinar.
Actually, Mike, this is Ahmed, and I know myself and Harold, we were, it finally got working, so we actually see the TV.
So do you guys on the phone have any questions? I know it's so hard to pay attention when you're remote. Any questions? Anything at all?
No, this is Ahmed, not for me.
When am I getting to do this?
Hey, Ahmed, do you see this working with web? Because mainly you're with Fusion and web type application tier. Do you see this at that level?
No, because we don't deal with data, right?
Yeah, but if like a lot of times, if you get like a marketing campaign, your marketing company, you want to spawn off more web servers to handle the traffic. How do you handle that?
If you use, the problem is with a lot of enterprise Oracle software, you have to spend some considerable time scaling out, right? With any of the middleware stuff. It's just not a point and click and you can just add these only nodes unless you're just pure web logic. So,
okay.
Other than that, yeah, perhaps you can use some type of virtualization if it's just pure web logic in Java.
I mean, if it was the same application, you just need more web servers. I'm just thinking out loud here more than anything.
Yeah, it's web/app server.
And you're deploying code on those web app servers, right?
Yeah, and hypothetically they're identical. This is input, right? So really actually the majority of the stuff you can really clone most of that stuff quite easily, to be honest.
Okay.
Well,
But I haven't, unlike what's been shown here, I haven't really seen that model being applied to middleware in general, right?
Brian and I saw it at Ford, but they use VMware for that. Especially if they have big marketing campaigns like around Super Bowl, they needed to spawn another 50 web servers to handle all the traffic coming in. But it was basically VM templates and VM clones more than anything.
You can think if you want to copy the stuff around, you can do that. But everything that I described with Oracle can be done with a file system, right? So I'm able to cut and paste, right? I'm able to virtualize point-in-time copies of the code directories that you have on web app servers. And in the example I used previously about eBusiness Suite, right? I've got an Apple top that's patched to a certain level, that has code at a certain level, that expects to find objects in the database defined a certain way, and I can give you the same vintage at circa about the same time.
Right.
So then,
you want customers going that route?
Yes.
From an application front?
Yes, I was at WellCare in Tampa, Florida a couple of weeks ago, and they actually, a member will call up and they have some issue with their healthcare plan, and they can actually provide point-in-time copies of SQL Server databases, Oracle databases, 6 file systems that contain code, all at roughly the same point in time, so that a developer or somebody working the trouble ticket can get into that specific vintage of what was going on at that point in time in the machine, the code and the database, so they can find what the issue was. Was it the state of data in the database that was messed up? Was it, an update, in logic, in the programming logic that was found at that particular point in time? And they actually were talking about environment state management, where I'm providing the state of several applications to a specific point in time.
All right. Any other questions on the phone?
No, very good. Thank you.
So what would work better, the webinar or the Google Hangout?
For video, the Hangout, for sure.
I prefer the Google Hangouts because it makes us feel like we're there, right?
Okay.
WebEx has a video projection now.
Yeah.
WebEx does, yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to figure something out. This is our second attempt at doing Hangout. The problem is I can't turn the Hangout over to Mark.
Can't swap the controls, so that
I can't swap controls.
I would have to start the Hangout.
Yeah.
And invite other people to
I
come.
thought Hangout was if you started talking into it, it would show your face. That's when I've used Hangout. It's been happening.
Yeah, it's actually right here. I got it.
Yeah. See when.
Yeah.
And if one of the other 2 people on there,
Yeah.
it's supposed to do that, but it doesn't tell me.
But it doesn't. You can't transfer. Like with webinar, you can transfer. Share screen.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
WebEx and say, hey, no, Bill, I want you to drive, or Joe, I want you to
Right.
drive, or MJ, I want you to
Anyway,
drive.
thanks for putting up with it, guys. We're still trying to work it out. Any kind of input would be great because I know you guys are on the west side there, so it's not easy to get.
No, it was good. I mean, I was curious to see how it would work out,
Yeah.
and it's going to take a couple of rounds until we firm it up completely, right? So.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Mike, this is Brian. I'm more than willing to work out with you and Todd, just find a couple of examples so that we're comfortable with exactly what we have to do to make this work for the next meeting.
Yeah, we'll work on it.
Yeah, so he had started the Hangout on his side.
Yeah, he would have to start it on his, and then invite everybody. And so, who do you invite? He doesn't know all the people that are on the meetup. That's the problem. So, it's more a logistic thing, How many DBAs does it take to start a Google Hangout? About 12 of us, 14 of us. So,
There's got to be a way to do it without inviting people, because I know that there's a couple of podcasts that I listen to that they run it as a hangout, and it's just published and people just connect to it.
oh,
So I
yeah,
have to figure out how they do it, because that's what we would want.
yeah.
I found it interesting. I could have sworn I heard my team have a call it hang up instead of hang
Google
See you.
Google Hangout. So, thank you, Activio, Mark, Bill, you guys. Appreciate you guys coming out. This is a kind of the next section is just the next, as long as we want, just to answer questions, talk about things that you guys are working on. Real quickly, I'll kind of update you. There was myself, you, and Kevin was at the Great Lakes Oracle Conference last month, just about 3 weeks ago. Really great conference. Great. They had the product managers from a lot of different areas. A couple that stuck in my mind was Jeff Smith. You guys ever hear him? He wrote SQL Developer. He was one of the writers, and he's a product manager for it now. And how many people wanted to go into SQL Plus, for us who've been around a long time, and kind of hit the up arrow for history of commands?
Yeah.
Okay, in the new version, you can download it now.
Oh.
There's actual...
Oh, SQL Developer?
Yeah, if you go to SQL Developer, and the newest thing you'll see, CLI, that's the new SQL Plus that will be rolled out with the next version.
About time.
Yeah, and he also showed it. Go to the Great Lakes Oracle Conference, because he actually showed some great things about generating CSV files. All you have to do is put the word CSV now in SQL Plus, and it automatically generates a CSV, HTML, whatever you want. You don't have to do a whole lot of stuff. Yeah.
But that requires a different version of SQL.
SQL Developer, yes.
SQL Developer.
Yeah.
But I'm saying SQL Plus.
Well, it is, because he's got a SQL Plus. When you download it, there's a SQL Plus and a SQL Developer.
Okay.
But that command, that CSV thing, is in SQL Developer as well. So, yeah. So that's one of the. How about you guys? What was some of the?
The reason I ask is because when somebody actually gets into SQL, that kind of something to out of the server generate CSV files to email out to customers. And well, I can do that, but it's not going to work as pretty as you want.
Yeah, this all works pretty well. If you guys get some time, download the presentation, because also in SQL Developer, you just take the arrow over command and it shows you how to run the command. So you just type an alter table, right? And it'll show you all the different versions, and it'll actually plug in what you need. He spent a lot of. He made a comment. He said, "I made this change," and he finally says, "No." He goes, "I must admit." He goes, "I put it on a piece of paper and gave it to my developer to do." But his name is Jeff Smith, and if you want to follow him on Twitter, it's that Jeff Smith is how he spells it. Did you guys go to any that you guys thought was really stood out?
Who's that guy from Canada? One of the presenters. He was sitting with us at the presenter.
I think he has a name.
Yeah, at our table, right? He was sitting at our table?
Yeah. He was ruthless. He was giving this presentation on extended statistics. And I talked to him about extended statistics at the dinner, and I told him it didn't work for me.
Yeah.
And he said, "Well, did you collect histograms?" I said, "I don't think so." I said, "Well, that was the problem." So in the middle of his presentation, right, I'm just kind of zoning out, and I'm not even in the front row. I was halfway back. I didn't say anything. I was being good, and he gets to this point. He's showing how everything works, and then he says, "And Kevin, what do we need at this step?" And I said, "Histogram." There's like 40 or 50 people in this room. That wasn't so bad. But the fourth time he did it, I
Oh,
thought
he
that
was
was
picking on you.
What the like Instagram?
That I would have sat there and I would have said pissed on Graham. I mean, I would have just, when somebody pokes at me, I just return the favor.
What day was it? What day was the presentation?
The second one.
Was it Francois?
No.
No?
You just picked one that looked a little exotic.
No, look,
There's gotta be four.
Yeah.
Oh, Wayne Sharp.
Yeah, Wayne Sharp.
Oh.
You know,
If you guys, Wayne Sharp has given at our mouse meeting a few times, so he's actually from Sarnia, which is not really Canada, that's really U.S., but we let them.
these days.
Well, guys, I got to get back to the airport. I'm headed to Newark tonight.
All right. Good.
I'm out of Atlanta. I really want to thank you guys for your time today. I was told to be technically focused. I hope it was appropriate for the audience. And I would suggest that you give one of these two guys a phone call.
Okay.
And God, it's just. You had some rabbit ears coming up off the back of your head there. Yeah. Give one of these guys a call. I mean, if you have any interest or you think this could be valuable, give us a call, right? And we can come in, sit down with you, spend more time, focus specifically on pain points that you guys see that you're having. It's also a good opportunity to take a look at the overall value proposition, right? We can eliminate a lot of point products that you have in place right now and upgrade the capability that you can offer your customers. So,
thank you.
End users.
Yeah. So you guys had your training tonight. What were you guys going to be talking about?
We're just going over the SQL.
SQL?
We're just still probably for the OCA stuff.
Okay. Any questions on the SQL stuff now that you have a lot of SQL people here?
It's mostly functionality.
I'm gonna kill the meeting, so we're gonna lose the audio.
No, actually, okay.
Thanks for using WebEx. Visit our website at www.
The Hangout is still running, guys, so you see our beautiful faces now. So if you guys want to join Hangout. So any questions on the SQL? Any other kind of stuff that you guys work on? Michael? Any kind of challenges you have? I'm sure everything's running great, right?
Everything's running great for me.
Okay.
We're in the middle of a flash upgrade, and we're getting 200 terabytes of flash storage that they want me to evaluate. We haven't had the disk in. The evaluation's over June 30th.
Okay.
You know, standard operating procedure, right? That works. That's how it works. So, you know, and one of the questions I've got actually is, since you guys are in the cloud so much, are you working with Nimbles or the Pures or?
We partner with them.
Yeah, we partner, and the other thing too is if you take a look at, you know, small shops, guys running a hardware store who's got a SQL Server database on a PC, typically doesn't pay for DR resources, right? So you can provision us so that the software version is running in the cloud. I need to do a full backup the first time, and then I'm doing incrementals. If that hardware store burns down, he's got in Azure, in AWS, the databases, the file systems that he's protected. He spends a little bit of money to spin up some VMs, recovers his data, and he's back to business again. So we can help you migrate your data, and that's on the low end. We can also help you migrate your data from, you know, physically provisioned hardware in your shop into the cloud. Right? We'll help you move it.
To answer your other question, we definitely work with all of them. I've done events with Pure and Nimbles. The thing that's funny about it is we basically don't need to buy as much of them. Right? We're kind of anti-storage vendor in that way because our whole value, our big part of our value prop is not spending as much money in storage. But,
and they're all promising, you know, deduplication, but they haven't been able to explain it. And maybe because you guys got technical, I believe you.
All those XCMC guys that work for Pure and Nimble, they didn't want to get that technical. That's their amount.
I mean, you're not just accepting it's just magic?
Well, again, I have yet, we turn the machines on, theoretically. I haven't seen them. It's been a week. Today's the 9th. The 30th is coming up real fast.
I will tell you, transaction logs and archive redo logs will not do.
Yeah, I think can't.
Right.
How do you? Yeah.
I've got 100 connections to the database, right? Somebody does a select statement and pulls 100 blocks in. Somebody wants to go and do an insert. Oracle goes, hey, isn't that convenient? This block's below the high water mark. I'm going to stuff it right in there, right? Because there was a shared read lock on it. They can write a record to it, and then it gets back. So you've got all of this activity hanging on the database, and redo is being generated, right? Everybody's fighting for the end of the file on redo, and they're all scrambled, right? I mean, there is no way that and that was true at Commvault. I spent 3.5 years there. Don't even bother. Don't even waste your time, and that's why I see people, spend a lot of money on data domain, and they're moving redo into it, and it's not beautiful.
Imagine that. Oh, cool. Thanks again, guys.
Yeah, no problem. I don't know, market vendors normally come into things or not, but I appreciate you guys.
Thank
Kind of
you
a
so
stupid
much.
approach.
That's great.
Everybody got my card, right? In case we
Well,
sit down. I'm going to do stuff before I go home, so really appreciate you guys letting us
Thanks,
hang out with you for a bit.
All right,
Thanks,
guys.
guys. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. So any other questions? So the SQL, you guys writing any inner joins or outer joins?
Yeah, we actually went over doing the different types of joins the other day and discussed how they
Awesome.
function.
You're using joins, not subqueries.
Back to somewhere.
Unfortunately. Well, we're going over the OCA exam material right now, which is just kind of like, oh, how can we trick you and get this one wrong? Like, okay, let's go over why this one is the way it is, and just kind of going through one by one, just trying to make sure we understand it. Mostly it's just memorizing what the functions do and the limitations of them. So
I think my biggest struggle with SQL is when they do select from select from select from select from select.
yeah, they do that.
That seems to be like a MySQL kind of thing.
The subset of subset
Yeah.
of subset of a
And
subset.
I've never quite understood that. I can't get my head around it because I'm always expecting it from a table, and so now instead I'm getting it from a data collection.
Well, in my mind, the way I always perceive
So I have a
it's
set of
just a
data.
small
So
table.
what it?
The way I always perceive it in my mind is
You
just a
have to
small
work
table.
from inside out.
Well, I know that, but I mean, I see that all the time. I know why it's being done. That SQL always just I just like
Instead of using joins or
Yeah.
a little bit more intelligent.
Yeah, it's a
You're doing
MySQL.
secondary.
It's a MySQL. Some of the
Yeah.
newer databases just
Now,
that's the format they use.
Queries come from set theory.
Yeah. Yeah.
Flex statements are basically set theory.
Set, yeah, set of data.
Intersections, unions.
It's much more
I have,
productive from
That's why I went back to college.
responsiveness. You can get a much better.
Yeah, I learned set theory like 6 different.
If you do a select from a materialized view, like
Well, number
This is
one,
where we need
you're
Rick.
not materialized.
yeah,
Queries are also based
That's
on
a
set theory.
select,
Yeah.
select,
Join
select, you're not materialized.
right.
And open join.
But why is that better than an inner join or?
It just depends on the data.
Okay.
Okay, and what set you're building.
See, we need Rick here. This is the one time we need Rick, and he's not.
Absolutely, absolutely. But no, it depends on what data you're selecting, how it's being indexed, what your predicates are, because doing a join to get the exact same effect may be much more costly than doing it to select from select from select.
Which is why you rely on developers to know how it's going to attack the data.
Oh, my friend.
Oh,
You don't know developers.
You're limiting your data at the point at the initial point, and then you're
I must have.
then joining that to another table or
Right.
to another select. So you're dealing with smaller chunks of data.
Having
But-
a print background?
Well, on my system,
Our
yeah,
price.
will detect that.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter if you do the select as where in or where the column is in.
Sometimes it does.
Right.
Something that would reduce that set, or if you do a left to right.
But there's-
The
and there's-
optimizer should.
There's complexities that you can do with multiple subqueries. or
The
multiple joins.
optimizer will actually convert the subquery into a join.
Now, I will say that I am
They
someone
can.
that will do the where
column is in, then I'll do the subquery for that. I do that more for readability than performance issues. Now, if there's performance issues, then I would evaluate, looking at your memory blank or something else. But I do that style in particular, just so that when the next person reads it,
Right.
they can see, oh, this is, when you do a bunch of joins, it's easy to get lost as to what the joins are for. By putting it into the word clause with a subquery, it kind of links that visually with what the intent is. And hopefully it makes it a little bit more readable for someone else who has to get behind.
Well, what kind of syntax do you use when you do that? Fancy or negative word?
So if I were to do a select where column in or equals?
No. When you're doing your joins and
I'm more old school. I'll
More old
end
school.
up using the plus signs instead of now and again. But I'm having,
that's real. I got into a habit for at least a very short time. I still like the habit of using fancy syntax because it pretty much forces the join predicates to be right there at the point of join. So it's very visual to say, oh yeah, that's
Right.
the relationship. Whereas in the old style, particularly as a statement or as a SQL developed, okay, over time it's like, oh wait, now I need to add this table in these joint conditions. They add that table and the joint conditions would be at the bottom.